And coming up on this episode of the Marty Mariner Show, well, I've got a couple of the Central Coast Mariners women's team, a couple of legends joining me for a bit of a chat, bit of a chinwag, a bit of a conversation. Paige Hayward and Sarah Langman join me. We're going to talk about their earliest footballing memories, how they ended up at the Central Coast Stadium with the palm trees, the inflatable sauce bottles at Industry Group, and also got a couple of questions that got fired in from Instagram that I can't wait to put to the girls as well. See how they handle those. It's also the first of our Support Local series. Plenty of local businesses that support the Mariners, but they've been great supporters of the show as well. We'd love to give them a shout out. And Angela from Bodyman Therapies has been a great supporter of the show. We really appreciate everything that she has done. And look, let's face it, coming into Christmas with all the hustle and bustle of the shops and dealing with families and roast dinners and unpacking presents and cleaning up and all that, who's not going to need some mending of their body come the new year? Because I'm pretty sure these guys are booked down in December already. You need to probably get in pretty early. We'll put Angela's details down in the comments. I have a wellness room, a remedial therapies, natural therapies, advanced skin treatments. I mean, I could probably spend 3 or 4 weeks there without a hassle. I think there's plenty to work on there. But make sure you check out Angela, Bodyman Therapies. They've been a great supporter of the show and the first in our Support Local series. Well, talking about supporting local, we better support these couple of local girls because they've got a big game coming up on Friday night. Can't wait to see them out there and can't wait to have a bit of a chat to them now. It's the Marty Mariner Show. And welcome back to the Marty Mariner Show. And as I said in the introduction, what a couple of legends we've got on the show with a big game coming up this Friday night against Melbourne City at Industry Group Stadium. We thought we'd get a couple of them on to have a bit of a chat, a bit of a chinwag, a bit of a conversation. The first one has just been voted the Macca's Player of the Game for that massive effort out at, I think it's Western Football Park or something like that last Friday night. Paige Hayward, how are you doing?
I'm good, doing well. How about you?
I'm doing all right. I didn't have to run around on the field last Friday night, so that's a big effort from that. And if you look up in the Guinness Book of World Records, there's I think it's a record for the quickest recovery from a pre-season injury by a goalkeeper in Australia. And there'd be a picture of Sarah there, Sarah Langman. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, going good, mate. Going good. And great to see you with the kit back on, as we said last Friday night. We'll talk about that in a little bit. It's just fantastic to see. But first of all, Paige, question that we ask everyone who comes onto the show: what's your first footballing memory?
I think when I was younger, just playing locally, when I was like 6 years old and having fun running around with my parents there just watching. That would probably be the first one.
Yeah. And was it a case then too? Because a lot of we speak to a lot of players from the women's leagues about was only boys comps to play in. Was that the case for yourself?
Yeah, exactly right. I played with boys up until I was 11.
Yeah.
And it was really good. It was fun for me.
Yeah, well, we sort of get that too. It seems to be that you could sort of play as hard as you wanted to, and there was this silly thing about she's only a girl, but God, you can show them the other way from there. It's fantastic. What about yourself, Sarah? What was your first footballing memory?
Definitely. So I have an older brother, kicking the ball around with him in the backyard. He's got 3 sisters, so someone had to do it. But yeah, like that's pretty much it. I didn't start playing at a club until I was 12 years old, so I didn't play with the boys. I just played in the girls' league at the age of 12. So
very nice, very nice. And Paige, did you? When you first started playing, did you settle into that sort of forward, out wide role? Was that always where you started?
I was always a midfielder. So it was sort of like go up, score goals, come back, defend.
Right.
That's what I knew.
Yeah. Getting all the work done as midfielders should. What about you, Sarah? When you started, were you always a goalkeeper?
Most definitely not. I actually started off as a midfielder. Then I kind of moved to a defender, and then I just kept on moving all the way back, and here I am.
You can't go any further back now. Have you let Emily know that
No.
you're a jack of all trades and you can run that midfield for him as well?
She does know that, and do you know what? In the one of the trial games, I took a touch past the player and I nearly kept on going, so I had to stop myself.
Well, early player of the year points could be a lethal weapon coming off the sidelines. You never know. We'll keep an eye out for that one too. Paige, I was reading too. You started off playing some football over in America. I think it was over in Texas, wasn't it?
Yeah, I did. I was like 16 and knew I wanted to go overseas. Told my parents, they said that's too crazy. Once I had a scholarship, and at that they were like full scholarship and you can go. If not, you're staying home. Just a way to keep me sort of. And I was like, everything's paid for. They're like, we can't stop you.
Wow.
So at 19, I moved over there.
Yeah, because I think it was a couple of the Texas unis. I think was it Texas Southern. I think it's the Tigers. I think they're called for a while.
Yeah, started at University of Texas and then moved to Texas Southern, the Tigers. Yeah.
And a little bit of Houston in there as well. I think I read.
Yeah, that's where I was, and then playing in the semi-pro league with Houston Aces, and then that got me to pretty much be a practice player with Houston Dash, which was nice.
Nice. And we spoke to Roller a couple of 2 weeks back, and also to Emily, who've also had experience. Tell us the experience of the game over in America. It's pretty full on the women's football over there, isn't it?
Yeah, I think the big awakening I had was you go in hard, and it doesn't matter if you get beat up, you don't get a foul. You will never get a foul for it. You just have to fight back.
Nice. And it's not like we don't see you playing that same way now, and that's why we love you so much out there on the field. It's absolutely brilliant. And what about yourself, Sarah? Where was your junior football played?
So I actually played all my junior football in Adelaide. So good old Camptown City was my first ever local soccer club, and then I kind of moved into NTC my later years, and then I ended up in playing for Adelaide, and here I am.
And she's finally landed at home, which is fantastic. I think it was over 38 games for Adelaide, I think I read.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, something like that. And then I think it was a bit of time at the Wanderers as well. Should we talk about that? They just played the other week. We probably shouldn't bring them up, but you went there and played there for a little bit as well.
Yeah, I was there for a couple of seasons, and then Perth for last season, and now Central Coast. Yeah.
And was there anything that surprised you, or you didn't think you were ready for when you first started playing for Adelaide, and was there anything that really stood out to you that was, I didn't think it would be like this?
That's a good question. I mean, I was a lot younger back then when I first got signed, and obviously I had to wait my time kind of on the bench, work really hard, and kind of made that number one spot myself. But I mean, over the last 10 seasons of me playing in the league, it's obviously changed a lot over my time. So obviously, when I first started, I didn't get paid. Obviously the conditions were a lot worse. So it's generally over this last 10 years, it's improved so much.
Yeah, because I know we'll chat about it in a sec. I know you did a bit of a thing with the ABC a couple of months. I think it was in August. I think we'll have a bit of a chat about that too. But Paige, you ended up in Austria. Now, how did it end up you being in Austria, and how bloody cold was it?
So one of my good friends from college lives in Austria, still talk to this day.
Right.
And her coach would watch our games in college and pretty much said, hey, the number 9, does she want to come over for us to play in the championship?
Right.
And I was like, why not? Let's keep travel with my best friend and be there, see her lifestyle. Did that while I was still in college.
Yep.
Then 2021, COVID hit, and I was like, I think I still want to play professional. So just continued and reached out to the coach, and I got the opportunity again. So the first time was in summer, second time was in winter.
Yep.
Don't know how long I could last in winter, honestly.
And you would have played. I mean, I remember as a kid in England playing on snow-affected fields, and no one believes me how bad it was to play. But you avoid the slide tackles at all costs, don't you?
Yeah, it's very icy, and then boots are like every 5 minutes have snow underneath them, so you pretty much got to pick the chunks out and throw it.
Wow, just talk about toughen you up for that midfield. And then of course you ended up at Adelaide as well. So how did it end up going from Austria to Adelaide?
Yeah, I went back to the US, played a season there in the off season, and then I started reaching out to other clubs in the A League because I was like, I think I'm ready to be closer to home.
Sure.
Got a manager, and he made the magic work pretty much,
Beautiful.
and got me in contact and loved it.
Loved every bit of it. And so it is a beautiful spot, Adelaide. It's spent a bit of time over there. So it is a beautiful spot. And what about yourself, Sarah? So you sort of you spent some time at Adelaide and the Wanderers. I think you went to, was it Apia for a little while too?
Yeah, I played for one season for Apia before heading off to Perth.
Yeah. And then sort of spend some time out there. And it's a question that I'll ask both of you because we've asked the other girls the same thing. The Mariners get a team, all of a sudden, yep, we got a coach and here's where we play. And there was just no players. And you guys were both relatively early signings for the club. Sarah, I'll ask you first. You turn up at the club and there's barely enough people to have a five-a-side kick around. You've been to clubs which are pretty much established squads. What was that like for you?
I mean, it was obviously exciting, like coming to a new club in obviously that haven't been in the league for a while. So it was like I kind of had my trust in Emily to bring the team together, and we were kind of finding out drips and like little bits and pieces of like who was going to be in the team. But I kind of like wanted to be back in Sydney with my partner, so it was just kind of the right move for me. But at the same time, like, we kind of found out, like, we didn't know, obviously I didn't know who was going to be signed at the time. So it was kind of like a little bit of trust and just excited to play in like a new team, new environment.
Absolutely. And what about yourself, Paige? Because I guess it would have been almost daily, if not weekly, where there's players announced or such and such is coming in and you're sort of running with training. And then, it starts off with half a dozen. Then it's sort of, what was it like just sort of picking up new numbers as you're going?
I think it was good just to be closer to home. That was a good one that drove me. And then speaking to Emily, it just felt right. I sort of had the conversation and what she was about. I think the environment was the other thing. Like, we knew that Central Coast had a good community behind it, which was driving us. And people that want to play are going to play. And that was the main thing. So even though we didn't know the people that were going to be signed, the environment and just the communication commitment was all there from the beginning.
Absolutely. And I know too, Sarah, that, a lot of time was spent in that off season, not only for trial games, but also getting together off the field, sort of bonding and getting to know everyone. How important was that for you? Because obviously, again, coming down, you'd throw your hat in the ring and say, yep, let's get this new team together. But getting to know those other girls off the pitch was imperative, right?
Yeah, definitely. We had like a preseason type camp thing where we kind of did some team bonding activities. And obviously, like a lot of these players that I'm now playing with, I've either played with a couple or you play against players you kind of like know of them. So generally, like, they're not kind of just brand new. Obviously, like some of the internationals are new into the team, but you obviously, like, majority of the team you've kind of played either with or against. So it kind of made it easier coming in to like the preseason, knowing like a handful of players and then obviously knowing of majority of the other players. So I felt like we bonded quite well from the start, which was great. And then obviously with little bit of players coming in and out over the pre-season, but I think in the end we've actually bonded really well, so it's great.
Yeah, it looks fantastic, and you can see from the sideline how close you guys are. That during the game and after the game and all that, you can definitely tell, and it's great to see. Paige, we spoke to Emily about this, that there was a smaller group of players that had come through Sydney uni, like through with Emily. that was a handy thing, right? That they already knew each other. There was kind of like a little bit of a combination going already.
Yeah, it obviously helps when people know each other and the way they play, especially when they're on the same side or coming in like midfielders that know each other. Just makes it that little bit easier to correlate, and then we pretty much fit into the missing pieces. And the best part is with our team, there's no one set in a position. Every spot is up for grabs, so you're able to play for it. It doesn't matter if they've been coached by Emily before. Every spot's there for the taking, which is good as well.
Absolutely, and we've seen that in the games that we saw it through the trial games and since the season proper has started that the rotation around and there's definitely competition as you said all over the field. We had a couple of questions that were sent through Instagram and Facebook, so I'm going to fire these at you guys nice and early to see what you reckon. Sarah, I'll ask the first one to you, and Paige, I'll get you to answer it as well after. Jacob has asked, was there anything about the Central Coast that surprised you?
I mean, I originally am not from Sydney, so it kind of just felt like a little bit more like Adelaide kind of thing, like a little bit more quieter, beaches around. I don't know. I just obviously like a lot of people from Sydney like that kind of busyness, and it's a bit more like quieter and calmer, and I kind of just felt like it felt a little bit more kind of like home.
Absolutely. God's country, as we call it. What about yourself, Paige? Did anything surprise you about the Central Coast when you came here?
Not really. Also, I'm from Sydney.
Can you hear me?
I feel like that's a bit of a difference. The only thing is, I don't think I realized how spread out the Central Coast really is and how big it is.
Oh yeah, it's massive. Yeah, you wouldn't walk around it in a hurry, let me tell you. So it would be a bit of a stretch. Another question from Sarah, also through Instagram. And Sarah, I'll ask you first. Any pre-game rituals that you have?
Well, apart from I don't work on game day. Generally have a coffee in the morning. Generally, I always wear my hair in a bun because it's that long. It kind of annoys me. With a purple headband, but not really. Like I don't really have. Apart from that, there's like nothing else I really have to do before I kind of play.
That's fair enough. Well, I'm with you about the coffee in the morning. I'm not sure about the hair bun. I don't think I could make that work, but I'm definitely with you with the coffee. What about yourself, Paige? Any pre-game rituals for yourself?
Most of the time I'll have like the same dinner beforehand. It just depends on what I feel like and depends if I'm meeting up with friends also. That makes a huge difference. But then game day, morning of, I'll go for a walk. And depends on the heat and how hot it is and all of that. Depends on how long, how far.
Absolutely. And how glad are all we that we played on a Friday night and not last Saturday, because that would have been an absolute nightmare for everything. So our last question for you, Sarah, is from E-Husband from Industry Group Stadium at Gosford. Who is the best coach that you've ever had, and why is it Emily Husband?
So I think just like the first conversation Em and I had, we kind of had like the same morals and like values, and kind of how like the team played kind of suited my style of what I kind of like playing with. And so she just like she's got obviously a great football knowledge as well. And we kind of just clicked and kind of just it worked.
It's certainly been working pretty well. What about yourself, Paige?
Yeah, probably piggybacking off what Sarah said, like from the first conversation, you can understand what a coach wants, the style they play, and just I think as players, we all want to combine. And Emily's very understanding and wants the players to really take charge. And if we see something, is really open to our feedback, which is always nice for a coach to have that because you feel like you're heard and can enjoy playing. I think the biggest thing is she wants us to play with a smile on our face.
Absolutely. And we do see, and you guys, and so many people will say the same thing. You guys, I mentioned before, look very bonded together as a group, but you can tell that, you're enjoying what you're doing. I mean, I know Friday night against Western Sydney, there are probably moments where you weren't probably enjoying yourselves as much, but, you can just tell how close you guys are and how much you are enjoying the game. Sarah, I touched on it just earlier. I know you had a bit of a chat on the ABC not that long ago, and it was all coming down to Paige and professionalism in the women's game. A stat that I found was that 60% of the players in the Liberty A-League women's comp are still working, whereas the thing's about 15% in the men. I mean, how do we get this balance right?
I mean, ideally, we get paid more. Like, that's pretty much it. Like, if I got paid more, then I wouldn't be working 30 hours a week outside of football. Because obviously, like, it is a lot. Like, I train this morning and I come straight to work and I don't finish until late this evening, and then you kind of have training again. So, it's quite simple. The pay kind of needs to keep increasing. Like, it obviously has increased to a certain extent, but like, we need to be at least on like a kind of wage that you don't have to work as well.
Yeah, 100%. And plus all those pesky media interviews that you have to keep doing while you're at work as well can't really help the story. Yep. And Paige, tell us about you. Fuel Your Active Life. What's all that about?
Yeah, I started my own business because in the US I studied dietetics, a Bachelor of Dietetics. So coming home, I've always wanted to have my own business and just sort of thought it was the right time to start it, and very flexible with my hours. And I work with people that are committed and want to better their nutrition.
Well, absolutely. And I'm sure you can, we'll whack a whole heap of details down in the profile for everyone to check you out as well, because obviously if you can play like a mariner, you can diet and fuel yourself like one as well. How good would that be? So just briefly looking ahead, Sarah, the injury coming up to the F3 Derby, we were absolutely gutted, but that must have been nothing compared to how you felt. Just briefly, can you tell us, can you put it into words how it felt for that week? Because that must have been just shocker.
Yeah, it was really bad timing. When it happened, I kind of knew it wouldn't be kind of short term. I was obviously very disappointed coming into the first game, but that's all right. We're on the back end of it now, and I'm back training fully and working hard, and hopefully I can be back on the park soon.
Absolutely, and I'm sure you will be. You've been an absolute outstanding effort all the way through the trials, so I'm sure that opportunity will come. Can I ask you, on Friday night when you're pulling the socks back on and putting the kit back on, did you kind of think, I'm back, this happened a lot earlier than I thought? What were the emotions you had on Friday night?
I mean, so when I kind of spoke to the surgeon before the surgery, he pretty much said it's generally a 12-week injury, but if you really push it, you can do it in 8 weeks. My thought was, all right, 6 weeks it is. We'll see how that goes. Hopefully I can kind of
love it.
Work hard and push the limits. And there I was back on the bench. It's just over 6 weeks. So it was good to finally put the Mariners kit on, but it'll be even better when I actually play my first game and make my debut for the Mariners. So can't wait.
Absolutely, and we can't wait either. And Paige, can you just give us an idea too? That first game, the F3 Derby.
Beforehand, I think everyone was nervous. Everyone was getting excited. Just the fact of having 5,000 people at the stadium is huge. Absolutely. There's not many games that get that support, and for that to be the first one in a stadium is surreal. Absolutely. So it's amazing. But yeah, I think it sort of just got a little bit too much, and we just had to calm down that little bit more.
Yeah. And we've been playing some really good football. It must have been quite good since both of you actually, spent some time at Adelaide to actually get the win over there. Really good confidence boost. And we really, to me, that was a catalyst of us starting to really put some good, play together and stuff like that. Is that how it felt for you, Paige, to start off with, to see that game and go, yeah, we actually look like we're gelling a bit here?
Yeah, to come back into that game and be a starter, I think for me, I was surprised because you earn your spot, and I was sort of like, it's there. We just have to take it if we want it. And the main focus was on us, which was awesome. And to see the plays that we could come up with was outstanding.
Absolutely. And Sarah, can you tell us, we talked about, pre-game rituals and stuff like that, getting ready for the game, but Do you think you're going to be a bit beside yourself when you are named as the keeper for your first debut? Is that going to be a nail biter for you?
I mean, it's obviously not my first A-League game, so I don't know. I generally don't really get too nervous, but you never know. Might happen this one time, but no, I just can't. I actually can't wait to kind of get onto the park and play my first game. I'm just excited, to be honest.
Absolutely. I mean, personally, we hope you never even touch the ball. That's even better for us, but probably
That
not.
is true.
You probably prefer to at least be involved in some way. Paige, Sarah, look, thanks so much for spending some time here on the MartyMariner Show. It's been an absolute blast having you guys on. We have had some bold predictions in past episodes where we spoke to Roller about scoring and she scored that weekend. And then we spoke to Annalise about scoring and that she had to have a goal celebration. And Ash said, righto, well, I'll clean your boots. And then she scored that weekend. So, Paige, which goal will you be scoring in this week? Let's give it the exclusive right now.
I guess this weekend is the game.
It'll happen. Trust me, it always happens. It always happens. So, but look, it's been great having you guys on. Thanks so much for spending some of your time. All the best on Friday night and all the best for the rest of the season.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Not a problem.
Thank you.
A big thank you once again to Paige, Hayward, and to Sarah Langman. What a lot of fun that was talking to the girls. Really appreciate them giving up their time to have a bit of a chat, bit of a chinwag, bit of a conversation with us with a big game coming up in a few days' time out there at Industry Group Stadium Friday night. Make sure you get out there to support our girls. Massive game against Melbourne City. And as Paige has announced, it's her turn to score a goal. You heard it here first on the MartyMariner Show. Speaking of first, well, it's now time for the first of what I hope will absolutely be many, the first of our East Coast Fire Solutions hot takes. And the hot take for this particular week is I've seen enough of our women's team. And I don't mean that as I'm not going to see them again, but I mean I've seen enough. Our Central Coast Mariners women's team will finish in the top 4 this season. That is my hot take. You mark my words. Can't wait to see it happen. So there's the hot take for this particular week. Look, thank you very much for sticking around right until the very end of the show. Greatly appreciated. Great to see you supporting the show and as well as our women's team. Don't forget, we are now on Apple Podcasts. We are on Spotify and all of your podcast platforms. Check us out. Chuck us a follow on there as well. Lets everybody know where we are. And yet we're still keeping the YouTube channel open for some bizarre reason. People love to see our beautiful faces on the screen. You can follow us on YouTube as well and subscribe to the channel there as well, which is also totally free. What an absolute bargain this show is. Thanks so much for checking us out right until the very end. Really enjoyed this episode. Can't wait to bring you another one very, very soon. It's been the MartyMariner Show.